Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Eagles Latest on Fan Arch. I'm your host, Blake McQueary, and I've got some stuff to talk about. As always. I'm sorry I didn't get a video up for you guys on Monday for a post-game recap of the Bucks game. Been traveling a lot, so you know how that gets. But enough of my personal life. We're going to Eagles life. What is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles? There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly, the whole 9 yards, things like that. So we're going to get into the major stories surrounding the Eagles after the Bucks game, what has gone on on Sunday, Monday. Today's Tuesday. So without further ado, we're going to get right into A.J. Brown. Let's talk about him a little bit. Did I foreshadow this a little bit? Weeks ago, talking about Brown, him kind of mad, upset about his production. He is not happy with his production this year so far, and he is now making it known after the Bucks game, as he should be, honestly, because it's not his fault. Get him the ball. That's bottom line. I've said it. As always. Do I always say it? I pretty much. Not to be cocky here, but, I cover a lot of things. That was one of them weeks ago. Get A.J. Brown the ball. I think I've covered that in multiple episodes now. But yeah, he's not happy. His stats through 4 games read as 14 receptions. That is tied for 58th in the NFL. 151 yards. That is tied for 64th in the NFL. 1 touchdown. That is tied for 45th in the NFL. 10.8 yards per reception. That is tied for 127th in the NFL. Looking at those stats, those are not A.J. Brown stats. Being tied for 58th, 64th, 45th, and 127th is not A.J. Brown. What is A.J. Brown is being tied for 5th, being tied for 4th, being in 1st, being tied for 2nd, 3rd, being in 3rd, 4th. That's A.J. Brown. None of those, what I just read, are even close to what I just said. A little bit of a rhyme there. Catch that. It is what it is. It really isn't what it is, though. Devontae Smith, he has more receiving yards than A.J. Brown. That should not happen. As good as Devontae Smith is, he is wide receiver number 2 on this Philadelphia Eagles squad. That he is. He is. A.J. Brown is more talented. He is a better wide receiver. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Tweet that A.J. Brown posted after the Bucks game, after the win. He tweeted a quote from the Bible that said, "If you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulders and be on your way." That is not the best message that you want one of the best players on your football team posting after a win, by the way. This isn't even after a loss. This is after a win. Like, you win the football game and he's not even happy. I remember I talked about it a few episodes ago. Getting him the ball is very important. I've actually said this since the start of the season, is get A.J. Brown the ball. You do not want him unhappy. You do not want him upset. You do not want him frustrated. Get him the ball. I think it was clear when he posted after the Super Bowl win that, like, days later, he posted this on Instagram talking about how the satisfaction and the joy of winning the Super Bowl faded very quickly because he is a player that enjoys producing. He is a player that enjoys catching the football. He is a player that enjoys putting up stats. That is his satisfaction in playing the game, is putting up stats, being productive, being a piece, being effective. The Eagles aren't doing any of that right now. Kevin Patullo is not doing any of that right now. And I get it. I understand. After the Dallas game, that's a different story, though. I remember talking about that, basically saying not to panic, things like that. It's going to come. Dallas was running literally no man, all zone coverages, which is hard to get separation in for wide receivers. But it's week 4. And he has 151 yards and 14 receptions. Like, A.J. Brown is the type of player who should have 14 receptions through 2 games, not 4. That number should be, all of these numbers that I just read out, 14 receptions, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, those numbers should be doubled through 4 games. Nick Sirianni, head coach. He was asked about it on Monday. And Sirianni kind of basically just gave the cliche. I mean, not really. Sirianni actually kind of went more in depth. Just the overall theme of what Nick Sirianni said. I'm about to read the quote, but the overall theme of this is basically just the cliche of when a player's frustrated, you're obviously not going to be like, oh, yeah, he's frustrated. He's very upset right now. Like, you're not going to say that as head coach. He just said the cliche, like, yeah, he wants to be here. This is what Nick Sirianni said. Quote, yeah, he wants to be here. Obviously, AJ is very important to this football team. I know he wants to contribute and do the things that he's capable of doing. Again, he wants to contribute into these wins, and he's had a couple of games where he hasn't been able to do for different reasons. I question nothing about his desire to play great football, desire of being a good teammate, desire to be here. I mean, that's the cliche of, like, it's what a coach is going to say when you're asking about his star player being frustrated. He wants to be here. I don't question his character. Obviously, he hasn't been able to produce in the way he wants to, and we have to change that. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, you at the end of the day, you just got to get it fixed. You got to get him the ball. It's not even that hard. It really isn't. Like, throwing him the ball downfield is obviously one of the best difference makers, just with his caliber and how he is. But it's literally running quick, getting him bubble screens, quick RPO on slants. Like, it's not that hard. Even hitch routes. Like, he ran a hitch route in the Rams game in that second half and took it for like 30 yards. Was breaking multiple tackles. That's who A.J. Brown is. Get him the ball. I mean, even Saquon, talking about him last year. Saquon said he's the best player on this team. He's a freak of nature, Hall of Fame caliber player. That's Saquon Barkley saying that. Saquon Barkley is, actually, for real, the best player on your football team. And he's praising A.J. Brown, telling the best football player on your team, saying that, no, this guy is the best football player on your team, on our team. Get him the ball. It is what it is. Now, we're going to move over to the run offense because that is still struggling. Let's go back to Saquon. Saquon, in the Bucs game, he finished with 19 carries for 43 yards. It was the fewest yards he has ever totaled in a game with 19 carries. Let's go look at Saquon Barkley's stats so far in the year of 2025. because obviously last year he has the historic season, on the brink of breaking Eric Dickerson's record, 2,000 yard season, 345 touches, offensive player of the year. We understand the resume, but it's been very disappointing this year, and it's not on him. Obviously, Saquon, go and read what he has been saying about the run game. He's obviously putting it on himself, the unselfish player he is, but it's not on him. It really isn't. Saquon, so far, through 4 games, 77 carries. That's tied for second. Keep that in mind. 237 rushing yards. That is tied for 17th. 3 touchdowns. That's tied for 6th. An average of 3.1 yards per carry. 77 carries with 237 rushing yards. That does not add up. Put it in the calculator. It doesn't add up. I just did it for you, though. It's 3.1 yards per carry. I mean, that's got to change as well. Barkley said his problem is, quote, I'm not doing a great enough job on first downs. Like I said, Saquon, being the player he is, taking accountability, he doesn't need to. You have to set him up better for success. The blocking has to be better. The schemes have to be better. Stop running the ball all the time in pistol. Stop running the ball all the time under center. Barkley had 11 carries for 17 yards on first down against the Bucs. That's 1.5 yards per carry. That is terrible. That's absolutely 11 carries for 17 yards. That's not Saquon Barkley football. That's not. In the second half, Barkley had 6 first down rushes for -1 yards. -1. All 6 of those for -1. 3 of those were negative yards. That's where you get that minus from. Now I understand, you can come up with the excuse of, Lane Johnson, he wasn't there in the second half, he was hurt. I get that. I understand how important Lane Johnson is. I talked about it in the preview episode before the Bucs game. The Eagles are like 12-29 without Lane Johnson. He is very important to this football team in winning. But at the end of the day, the blocking has to be better. Jordan Mailata even said it after the game. He said, quote, we have to do a better job up front, but also, if we know they're going to load the box, let's see how we can pick them apart. Maybe run some play actions. Again, it starts with us, but if you look at the plays, we're 1 block away. That like I said, the blocking has to improve. They are literally 1 block away on a lot of these busted plays. They are. They really are. I mean, go back to the Grant Calcaterra episode that I had talking about his blocking against Kansas City, how bad it was. Like, a lot of these plays are literally missing 1 block, and that 1 block can be the difference in a 50-yard gain, in a 60-yard gain, a touchdown. That's what it is. We're going to move on to inconsistency. Talking more about the offense, because we just love this Philadelphia Eagles 2025 offense, don't we? Don't we? We love Kevin Patullo, don't we? We do. The Eagles, the offense, in the first half looked phenomenal in that Bucs game. In the second half, they looked terrible. That has been a trend the past 2 weeks. It was flipped in the Rams game. Looked terrible in the first half. Looked phenomenal in the second half. Which offense are they actually? That's the question of the week. What offense are they? Are they the first half offense that they showed in the Bucs game? Are they the second half offense that they showed in the Bucs game? Which one are they? One half. They look like they are going back to the Super Bowl. Like buy your tickets now type offense, type team. The next half, they looked the worst in the league. The worst. Now, before I get into kind of the stats of the Bucks game, I do want to say this though. I don't think that I'm telling you guys to panic. Eagles fans, don't think I'm saying like, oh, right now you should panic. This team is not going to win anything. This team is not going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. It's not even October yet. Halloween decorations aren't even set out if you're a regular person, okay? I know there are some Halloween decorations set out if you go and drive in your neighborhood, wherever you are. If you're a normal person, you're not setting up Halloween decorations just yet. They don't deserve a full 2 months, but that's a different topic for a different day on a different channel. We are not even close to Thanksgiving Day games being played yet. I mean, honestly, I could care less how a team is winning games right now. I think everybody else should care less on how a team is winning games right now. You should not be panicking. The Ravens, like let's talk about racking up stats for a second here. The Ravens, they rack up stats like it's no tomorrow. They are currently sitting at 1-3 with a lot of questions to be answered. Like, you go and look at that Ravens offense. They rack up stats. They do. They really do. They rack up points. They rack up stats. They're 1-3. They're not winning football games. They aren't. They beat a Cleveland Browns team in a very underwhelming game. Very underwhelming fashion. Back to the Eagles. I don't care about how this team is playing right now. I care about how this team is playing come January. That is 3 months away. I just talk about the Eagles on the daily, so obviously I'm going to get into the logistics of everything. I'm going to cover everything. I'm going to try to answer questions, things like that. But at the end of the day, it is not time to panic unless it is January. It's not. That's 3 months away. I mean, the Eagles are 4-0. They are. They're 4-0. But let's look at this first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Eagles, they had a 24 to 6 halftime lead. Jalen Hurts, he completed 15 of 16 passes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rushed for 42 yards. Like, he looked like the MVP. Hands down, no question. He looked like the MVP in that first half against the Bucs. He absolutely did. There did not look like there was a better football player on planet Earth right now, unless it was Jalen Hurts in that first half. He had the best completion percentage in the first half of his career. Go to the second half. Hurts did not complete a pass. The Eagles had 5 drives that went 3 and out, and another drive that went 5 and out. That totaled negative 10 yards. They scored a touchdown on a short field, but they had 33 total yards in the second half when taking out the 34-yard rush at the end of the game to wind down the clock. Just basically a gimme right there. That 34-yard carry. Like, the second half was so bad that it overshadowed the beauty of the Eagles starting out the year 4-0. Being only one of 2 teams in the NFL this season with a 4-0 record. Like, it took away all of the joy that was produced in the first half of the game. By the time the second half was over, by the time the clock hit 0, the Eagles, the game, it felt like they lost the game. It really did. Because of how bad that second half was. Special teams, unsung hero. I really, without special teams, I don't think the Eagles would be. The Eagles wouldn't be 4. Let me state that the Eagles would not be 4-0 right now if it wasn't for special teams. Sidney Brown and Jordan Davis, to be exact, and Cam Latu. They would be sitting at 2-2 without special teams with major offensive problems. Last week, the blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, Jordan Davis. Without that, they would have fallen to the Rams in a very bad first half showing from the offense. Now, this past Sunday against the Bucs, they block a punt to open the game. That was returned for a touchdown by Sidney Brown. Take those 7 points away earned on that. It's $25-24 by the end of the game. I had to pause real quick. Sports Center's on the TV, and I'm looking at how disappointed and sad A.J. Brown's looking, walking back to the sideline, which goes in hand with the inconsistency of the Eagles' offense. Get him the football, and your offense wouldn't be as inconsistent as it is. You see how those things align? You see how one thing leads to another, and you get to one, and you loop back around, and you see that? You see how that happens? Just saying. I am. I'm just saying. I really am. Moving on. Another injury, which is not ideal. It could be worse, but not ideal. Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher Agbo Okoronkwo. He is expected to have suffered a season-ending triceps tear in Sunday's win against the Bucs. Obviously, if this does happen, like I said, he is expected, keyword expected, to have suffered a season-ending triceps tear. He'd be placed on IR, of course. The edge rushing room, that is so deep for the Eagles, they lose just another guy. Obviously, Nolan Smith placed on IR last week with hopes of returning in Week 9. We'll see if he does come back for Week 9. Okoronkwo, though, who had spent the first 3 games inactive, was, expected there for depth against the Bucs, but he exited the game in the second quarter. He only recorded 4 defensive snaps on Sunday. Okoronkwo was an effective rotational defender for the Rams, Texans, and Browns. Was one of 3 Eagles edge rushers who signed 1-year deals in the offseason. So, not an ideal loss for the Eagles, especially losing Nolan Smith last week for at least 5 weeks. Now the Eagles will dip into their veteran-oriented depth yet again. Aziz Ujulari, I covered that on the episode of talking about Nolan Smith's injury, how big he needs to be, how big Jalen Hunt needs to be. Zarius Smith, he started in Nolan Smith's place on Sunday against the Bucs. He needs to be huge. Joshua Uch. These are all guys who need to step up. And they need to be productive. They need to have an impact. They need to be difference makers. The edge rushing room also, they're lots of depth, but, they lack sacks through 4 games. Darius Smith half sack against Kansas City. That remains the only such statistic the unit has accumulated for so far. The Eagles, 5 total sacks, are the franchise's fewest through 4 games since 2019. So, an edge rushing room that is so deep yet struggling. They really are. And the injuries aren't helping. Absolutely not. So, now, really need to bank on your defensive tackles, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. You got to get a lot of production from that area, your defensive tackles. Moro, Jomo. But it is what it is. That is all we have for today's episode. As always, stay up to date with Eagles' latest on FanArch. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.